Oh, I forget about a Halloween intro like every week. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Geek Boutique podcast, the official podcast of the Geeks Company. My name is JS. We are the Geeks Company. Look who's back, Mr. Aka. How you doing, buddy? We
I'm
missed you,
very,
dude. We missed you.
yes, very well. Hey guys, how you doing? Very well, thank you. Everything is well. It's all good. You can rescind the search party, take my picture off the milk cartons. Everything is fine. This is fine. Everything's totally fine. Roberto, the bad guy, has been filling in for me and doing a bang up job. I appreciate it, sir. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Good to see that I can take you off the milk carton. That's awesome.
Nobody sends out milk cartons for 51-year-old men. Just so we're clear, by the way.
You're on my milk carton. Gee.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Milk carton of your heart. That's nice. That's sweet.
And joining us again,
That Valkyrie girl. What's up, Megan?
Hello.
If you're wondering why Megan's here, not that it's ever a problem that Megan's here, but Megan's here because this entire vampire thing was Megan's idea. So we're like, if you're going to pitch this shit, you best be getting on the podcast to talk about it. So, what are we talking about today, anyways?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about vampires, specifically vampires in media. I mean, let's be honest, this is just an excuse to talk about vampire movies and TV shows, but
but we got to start where it all
we got to start where it started. Actually, before we even get started, guys, if you've not clicked that like button, make sure you click the like button because this is going to be a good one tonight. You know it's going to get animated in here because there's going to be some difference of opinions when we start talking about movies and TV shows. You know how it goes. You know, the grumpy old men over here tend to, not see eye to eye on a lot of these specifically shows for some weird reason. But click the like button. It's going to be a good one. If you've not clicked the subscribe button, guys, you should. Man, we're very, very, very close to reaching our real goal right now is to hit 1,000 subscribers. We're like, what did you say earlier, Jeff? We're like 17 away from reaching that 1,000 mark, which is amazing. So for everybody that's been following us all this time and subscribing to us all this time, thank you so much, guys. Yes. We've got a bunch of new followers that have been joining the channel mainly, and I'm gonna give credit where credit is due to Megan and Jeff over here because guys, they've been pumping out videos every week nonstop. It's been freaking awesome. Megan has been editing. Okay, look, Megan has been putting out 2 videos a week. Let's be honest, right? Like she's the one that's been putting out consistently 2 videos a week for the last couple months now. You're saying, man, to be fair, she did edit a bunch of videos a while ago that I'm just now putting out, but still.
I was going to say backlogs. Backlogs are very helpful.
Backlogs are fun, exactly, right? Like, you're not going to be throwing everything out, but, I mean, you guys have been doing a bang-up job. So, guys, that's been awesome. If you've not seen the after show, go check out this current after show for the Legend of Vox Machina.
Yeah.
Your guys' after show has made me want to now go watch that show from the beginning. I'm not going to lie.
Hold on a second. You haven't seen it?
I've not seen this show at all.
I've got me hooked on it.
Animated, you need to go and watch it because I have a very, very high bar for animated stuff.
Yeah, it's made me want to watch it from the beginning, and I did not realize, and this is maybe me being, I don't know anything about it, right? I don't know anything about D&D. I don't really know anything about Critical Role, but this is not them taking what happened in a campaign and making a show around that. This is them taking their voice acting as they're playing the game and then animating a show to their dialogue. Like, what? So, yeah, that's very cool. That's very fucking cool, especially at the level that it looks like. Yeah.
And guys, you might be intimidated looking to get into it because maybe you don't know who Critical Role is. Maybe you don't play Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe you've never seen their show. And you know what? Same fucking here.
Yeah,
I literally was scrolling through Prime one day. I wanted something to watch. It came up in my suggestions. I'm like, oh, the animation looks pretty dope on this. I'm going to give it a shot. I still don't know anything about Critical Role, the YouTube, the show. I don't know anything about any of it. And I love the show. So you don't need to have any background in any of that whatsoever to still find a lot of enjoyment out of this show. So you should definitely check it out. It's only, I think, 10 episodes a season, or 12 episodes a season, but they're half hour episodes. In fact, I think they're closer to like 22 minutes. So
Yeah, and
You're
they
in,
come out
you're
in
out.
batch of 3s, right? Is what you were saying?
Right now, that's what Amazon Prime is doing to Megan and I for whatever weird ass reason. But yes, they're coming out this third season every week. It's 3 episodes per week, is what's dropping. So, yeah, 12 episodes, 4 weeks.
Saying this year was it this year? Like
I don't remember, just because we weren't doing an after show for the first 2 seasons, so I don't remember if that was the release strategy or not. I don't remember it being like that, but I'm probably misremembering it. So because I didn't come to it as it was getting released. I came to it afterwards. So,
well, either way, guys, go check out the after show.
Eating a burrito, but I'm here. Elbow cough. Elbow cough. Cool, man. Cool.
Perhaps Nada's sick. I don't know.
Yeah, but her elbow is sick.
Elbow sick.
Cough.
I don't know. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Whatever that is.
It's a good burrito.
Yeah.
Guys, there's no vampires in Legend of Vox Machina, is there?
No.
Wait.
Sorry, yes, there was. Actually, yes, there was vampires
Yes, there was.
in Legend of Vox Machina. Sorry, in season 2?
Either 1 or 2, whenever they do Percy's.
I don't remember either. But yes, there was vampires in Legend of Vox Machina. Yes, there aren't now, but there were then. Spoiler alert.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Well, listen. I mean, I was trying to get out of talking about Vox Machina now to back to our subject, but I guess that spoiled it for me a little bit. But guys, go check out the after shows. They're really awesome. Go check them out. These guys have been amazing. We're here to talk about vampires. Actually, you know what? Again, before we get started, there's a bunch of people in the chat already. Seems like the vampires bringing the people out. Let's see here. We've got holy shit, the chat is on fire.
Lots of messages.
Peter Jarvis saying, what's burning down, Jeff?
I don't know, man.
I'm not sure. Noah's saying, great topic idea, Megan. It is a great topic idea, and I jumped on that like a friggin' you know what? I'm going to leave my analogies to my own at this point. Nada's in the chat. Lindy's in the chat. Peter Jarvis is in the chat. Andre Z Count. Funny enough, I almost made Count the thumbnail of the show tonight. Count Von Count. I thought that would have been appropriate, but then I was like, yeah, maybe not. So yeah, there's a bunch of people in the chat. Michael is here. Silky C is here. Nada, I think I've already mentioned Nada.
Yes, her coughing elbow. Yep.
Coughing her in her elbow. That's right.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for joining us. I hope you are ready for this. Vampires. Does anybody know where the whole vampire thing even comes from? Where it started?
Obviously, it's from Transylvania.
Actually, not.
I know. No. I think it's Romanian, actually, isn't it?
Strigoi? Like, how far back are we going here?
I was gonna say, so I have
Slavic,
written references.
Yeah.
So the first written reference to a vampire-like creature is from a text in Old Russian from 1047.
There you go. And was it called a Strigoi, or was it something else? It wasn't. They weren't referred to as vampires.
I was going to say, they weren't referred to as the word vampire until a 1725 German military report from one of their eastern villages, where they're talking about a body that had been exhumed, staked, and cremated because it was terrorizing the local community. Yeah,
because I guess before then. So what I'm seeing here is they weren't actually vampires, right? They didn't have they were a ghost-like creature. Yeah. They weren't. This is the definition that I have here of where the vampire term comes from. The concept of the vampire is an undead creature inflicting harm originated in Eastern Europe, specifically in Bulgaria, 1,000 years ago. This was a legend. This was a legend isolated among the Slavic people. It was not widespread or well known. As a word, vampire translates roughly to ghost monster.
I want,
I want to suck your blood.
That's right.
The Slavic vampires were non-corporeal, having more in common with the poltergeists. Yeah, so before then, they weren't even like vampires, right? They were more like a ghost thing.
Because ghost things.
And then Russia is the first written. Was it a novel? Record. Was it a story? Was it do we know what that text is?
So I was going to say, it sounds like it was very much like folklore record. So someone was actually like writing down general like myths and legends from the area.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, 1047, there's going to be a lot at that point. Jeez. folklore was a
It's
big
weird to me that and okay, can we take a step back for a quick second? So when I started doing research on this yesterday, I fully assumed that, oh yeah, Dracula, right, from Transylvania, right? Like
Yep.
that's where it all starts, and that's where we're gonna start the show. And boy, was I
Gotta
100%
go back
wrong.
earlier than that.
Yeah, like
It probably
Dracula.
goes back earlier than what you're talking about with what'd you say, like the year of 1100 or whatever? Because I'm seeing like the Mesopotamians, like before in ancient
There you go.
civilizations, they had tales of demons and spirits that preyed on the living, blood drinking spirits or creatures. So I think it goes even back further than that. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that when people, they didn't necessarily understand, medical explanations at the time, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's where I guess the whole Dracula thing comes into effect, right? Because the whole Dracula story is based on a person that I guess is an actual historical person, is it not?
I don't know if they specifically were going for like Vlad the Impaler, but it was definitely, it's got that energy.
Well, inspired by or whatever the case is, but he was a real person that was
Oh, yeah.
a real weird person. Let's be honest,
It's kind of like the Times version of a P. Diddy party at that guy's house.
Woo! The Times version of a P Diddy party. I mean, that's and we're going to talk a little bit later about specific movies, and there's one specifically that I want to talk about that shows us the vampire things completely different. But that's one thing that I did want to touch on is we're already talking about, some are like non-corporeal ghost-like things. We know in media we've had vampires that are more beasts than man. We've had vampires that are shapeshifters. We've had vampires that are good-looking and sparkly. And we have vampires that are old and wrinkled and avant de suck your blood. And there's been such a range of different adaptations and different styles of what a vampire should be.
Yep.
How does a legend that's thousands of years old evolve? Let's go right for the punch, right? From Dracula to Twilight.
Well, I was going to say, it's the different variations of the myth, because there are different ones to draw on, like people have been saying in the chat. Like there's different cultures that sort of adopted a version of vampires. So there's different aspects to draw from. But also I think it's very much to do with like whatever the kind of cultural fever is of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there was actually, I was talking with Erica about this. There was an episode of Murdoch Mysteries that talked about when Dracula first came out, and they did like a twist on it to try and make it seem like the way that all of the women and teens got all crazy when Twilight came out. So they made that same sort of like play on character of like, oh no, Dracula's out. Why is everyone suddenly interested in dead things that want to kill you and drink your blood? But it's fun. Listen, vampire media is just fun. Even if it's spooky, if it's scary, if it's sexy, whatever.
Super horny. That's, I think, why, not maybe why, but it's a big reason, I think, why vampires keep coming around,
Thank you,
keep
Jeff.
evolving, and hit like a certain level, and then just kind of stayed on a variation of that. Because Stoker was a horny bitch, and his Dracula was a horny dude, and his other vampires were horny vampire. Think about it for a second. What's more intimate than getting nuzzled in your neck area? You ever had someone get in there with their mouth on your neck? That's a pretty intimate feeling. And then they drink your blood, and then you become them, and you're beautiful, and you dress like a pimp, and you're immortal, and there's no sickness, there's no death. You can just fuck and suck blood forever. Of course it's horny and sexy. Of course it keeps coming back to horny and sexy. It got so horny and sexy, vampires stopped being evil bad guys and started to be kind of like anti-heroes and good guys because people wanted to fuck them now. And so it's just like, what? So it does keep evolving and it keeps coming around. And I think legitimately, I think the sexual nature has to be talked about if you're going to talk about why the lore is so persistent and why it keeps coming back around. Vampires are hot, man.
Yeah, because even when it was still like a cautionary tale version of hot, because everyone was very repressed and Victorian, like Dracula had that. Carmilla, I saw someone in the chat bring it up. I have it written down here. They have that same sort of vibe, except lesbians. Yeah, and I think even the original, it was called like Vampire, but spelt with a Y near the end. That was like the first novella that came out, I think like 60 or 70 years before Dracula. That one also had that same sort of vampires they were sexy, even when sexy was the, oh no, it would be still my beating heart. I will be seduced by the devil.
Yeah. And then you get shows like True Blood, and you get like shows that really like lean heavily into, and of course Twilight. You can't ignore that. You get
Interview with the Vampire was also talk about hot, nice young
hot and horny
Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Now you do get the other side of it too. You get the badass vampires, and you get like your Blades, and you get like your Dracula Untold. You get like really underworld. You get cool looking. But even still, like I said, you get Blade, you get Underworld, you get vampires that are now starting to become protagonists. Like you get people actually like relating to vampires, and then you're starting to see different varieties of vampires. You get shows like The Strain, or you get like Blade 2, where there's like an evolution of vampires and shit. Brother, it's just it's so permeated into our collective minds and cultures. Where did vampires rank in our top 10 monsters? Like they were pretty high, and I think this was why.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember now.
It was like top
That's a
3
good
or
question.
4 anyway.
Yeah.
Like every time we talked about it, we were like, yeah, they've been around forever. And
well, wasn't Dracula like number 1 or 2? It was down between Dracula and Vader.
Oh, you had to bring that up.
Is Jen in the chat? Don't bring up
Dracula.
There she is, Jennifer,
Get me
number 1
canceled
villain.
here.
Settle down.
Oh, yeah.
Lost Boys, another one too. Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah. Vampire Diaries. Like I think you watched Vampire Diaries. Yes.
I was gonna say I recently watched it. I went through a catching up on 2010 vampire media phase last year, and I finally watched True Blood and Vampire Diaries, and I'm like, wow,
and
these were something,
right?
Yeah,
sexy, horny vampires, correct?
Yep, basically.
And then
more so on Vampire Diaries than on True Blood, but
yeah.
Still,
even if you look at Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like the show there too, you even had different kinds of, like, you had Spike, who like leaned into and loved being a vampire essentially, and then you had like Angel, who was like the bitter emo, like, I'm so put upon it. It's such a tragedy that I'm a vampire or whatever, right? Like,
oh no, I'm going to be immortal and beautiful forever.
Yes. Woe is me. I don't like blood.
Hey, listen, it worked. He got his own spin-off, right? I mean,
that's true.
He sure did. It was
I don't understand, but here we are.
And multiple TV shows following that. So whatever he did was.
Oh yeah, no. David Boreanaz ran from like the beginning of the beginning of Buffy right through a television career that he didn't even start with. He got like cast off of a sidewalk because he lived near someone who was producing it.
Andre even saying like even on Sesame Street, man, right? Children's serial, Count Dracula. I mean.
Count Chocula.
Chocula, whatever. Dracula, Chocula. You know what I'm talking about. You knew what I meant. Shut up. You knew what I was talking about.
Count Chocula, Count Von Count. I mean, you
got vampires for kids. You got vampires for adults. You get vampires for hornies. You get vampires for everybody. Like, there's like, the genres are everywhere.
Like there's any other like classic movie monsters that haven't had like ebbs and flows throughout the last like 100 years or whatever, but I don't know. Ever since like original monster movies, like there's been mummy things, but there haven't ever really
werewolves. Other than werewolves, I mean,
not to the extent I don't feel as vampires.
Well,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. Because
same with zombies. Same with like zombies. Probably vampires and then zombies, and then probably everything after that. But I don't think even zombies kind of hits the same part of the zeitgeist as.
No. I like to think that we were just talking about this tonight over dinner. There was this whole period in time where there was this zombie craze, and there were zombie TV shows and different zombie movies, and there were fast zombies and slow zombies and mushroom zombies and this zombie and that zombie, and it, you know what I mean? Like there was a big kind of zombie thing at one point, but you're right. Over time, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
They
if you
have,
look
like,
at the
all
media of the last
tropes
100
as-
years, it
because
wouldn't
they all
it would
started
still be
Yeah.
as,
way
like,
ahead.
scary, oh god, they're going to kill me monsters. And I think vampires and maybe werewolves a little bit, but mostly just vampires have like you were saying, they've moved into being like anti-heroes or characters that we want to root for, and not, oh god, I'm going to be eaten.
Mhm.
Right.
Jen is saying here every 10 years it cycles, and it does feel like that, right?
A
Every
little
so
bit.
often
Yeah.
the trope changes a little bit for a while, and then it changes again, and then it eventually cycles back, right?
Yeah, people get tired of
Um,
it, so it disappears for a little bit, and then people miss it, so they bring it
Yeah.
back. It's kind of like the Fast and Furious movies, right?
Yeah.
So what's hot in
Um,
the vampire world right now? Do you think we're on a vampire cycle or
Yeah,
a
so
zombie
we're
cycle?
not.
We're on a zombie cycle,
but
I think.
I just recently saw, and it's not a new movie, it's a couple years old actually now, but it's The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Right.
Ooh,
Right.
yes.
And hot damn, I loved it. It was a little corny, but I loved it.
I was saying, that's very much we're leaning back into the spooky vampires there.
Yeah, like he's
Well, that
more
is
beast
Dracula.
than man, right?
So, yeah.
So
And then, of course,
I
we also have
love-
What We Do in the Shadows on right now, too, which is a comedy show,
Correct.
but it is current and it's very popular. And the people
Wait, is
that
it
love it
still on?
love it a lot. I'm pretty sure it's still on.
A minute, I'll make sure.
If
I
it's
thought it
not,
was
it's only
over.
just off. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I could be wrong. But yeah, Last Voyage of the Demeter, I love how they portrayed. For me, the Dracula movie has always been Bram Stoker's Dracula.
It's in its last season, Stephanie's saying, yeah.
Okay, yeah, last
It's
season.
in its
But, like,
last season now.
Yeah, The Strain was very good, Peter. I really, really liked The Strain. It was quite good.
For me, Bram Stoker's Dracula was always been the Dracula movie for me. And at one point in the movie, when he's no longer Gary Oldman, but he's that bat creature thing,
Yep.
that's kind of what he looks like in The Last Voyage of the Demeter, right? That made me feel like that was him coming over. Right? That was him crossing to London or wherever he's going.
Yes.
But I mean, in my mind, that was Gary Oldman's Dracula
Oh, I see what you're saying.
crossing over as a precursor to what happens in. Although I know the historical thing wouldn't match, but yeah,
Well,
it
to be
gave me
fair-
that vibe,
It would
right?
not, 'cause, yeah, that is how he
Would
crossed
it?
over.
Yeah, but your analogy even keeps with like on a more meta level because I mean, even though you have works that predate Bram Stoker's Dracula, the novel, that novel is still what really brought vampires to popular media. That novel
Oh yeah,
was,
Yeah, that was the
such a
turning
huge
point.
that
Yeah.
was 100% the turning point. That is what brought it out of Eastern Europe and brought it essentially to the rest of the world to that level and to that extent. We wouldn't be here talking about vampires if it wasn't for Stoker's novel. Absolutely not.
and let's be honest, this movie that we're talking about now is like mention.
Yeah, it's one line in like one
Mention.
chapter.
It's
Yeah,
no, it's more than a line, but it is like, yeah, it's not. They don't detail everything that happened. Literally, like they load him onto the ship, and it's full of sailors, and then it pulls into London, and there's
And everybody's
nobody on
dead.
the boat. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but there's nobody on the boat. Like I don't know what he did with all the bodies, but like it pulls
Fair.
I mean,
into
there's a whole ocean. You just
London.
toss them over.
yeah.
empty except for the coffin or whatever. But and of course the latest interpretation of Salem's Lot, Stephen King's second novel,
Yeah.
which was a vampire novel, has just been released on yes, I'll see you, Steve. Has just been released on streaming. Stars Lewis Pullman, which is Bill Pullman's son, plays Ben Mears, the main protagonist in that. So this is the third kick at the can at a live action interpretation. This is the first time it's been a movie, though. It's been a limited series the last two times.
And this is out where?
It's on a streaming service. I don't know what streaming service it's on. I'm going to be honest with you. It's called Salem's Lot.
Looks like
And it
it's on
stars Lewis
Prime.
Pullman on Prime. There you go.
Oh,
Maybe.
Tobe Hooper did an interpretation miniseries, and then there was another miniseries that came out, I want to say, in the early 2000s. But it's Stephen King's second novel and arguably one of his best. Because it really is it's just a basic, it's a much more like it gets back to basics as far as a good vampire story goes. Like how a vampire would slowly take over a small town in the middle of rural Maine type of thing, right?
Okay, that's what I was trying to pull up here because I've never read Salem's Lot.
Fantastic.
I've read a lot of Stephen
novel.
King novels. I've never read that novel.
Really, really good for us, especially for a second novel out of the gate. Like Carrie was first, and then he published Salem's Lot second, and it's just and I think it's like 300 pages. It's not a long read, but it's such a great.
His novels aren't massive books.
Not his early stuff. No, he did get kind of a little bit wordy in his mid to later stuff, but his earlier stuff was pretty tight. So, and
well, listen,
was one of them. But check it out. I haven't watched it yet. I keep meaning to because I love the novel so much, and
it's out now.
Is decent. So it is out now. Yes, it's streaming now. Yeah.
Well, guys, you heard it here first. Well, you probably didn't, but
just to illustrate the point we're talking about is there's never really a time where there's not some kind of vampire media somewhere, whether it be TVs or movies or comics or novels or books or role-playing games. Vampire the Masquerade was a tabletop RPG that I remember like a shit ton of people got super into way back in the 80s and 90s. They're probably still playing it today, man. Like it's wild how much it's permeated the culture.
Peter's saying Fright Night.
The OG Fright Night. I haven't watched.
I'm hoping you're
one.
saying the OG Fright Night, because the new one sucks. It's a cheap knockoff.
Yeah, the first one's pretty fantastic.
The first one was amazing, and the Lost Boys, Fright Night, and the Lost Boys. When I was young, those were the two big actor vampire movies, and man,
spoiler alert for Lost Boys, but when Grandpa crashes into the house at the end and the poles hit the vampires, he comes in, he grabs his favorite root beer, he's like, one thing I hate about this town, all the damn vampires, because Grandpa knew the whole time that the place was infested with vampires. And he's so cash about it, so good. Yeah, Underworld, Queen of the Damned. Yeah.
Does anybody remember the Monster Squad?
Yes, of course I remember the Monster Squad.
The Monster Squad?
JS and his Quebec upbringing. No Monster Squad in Quebec. All the damn vampires. Yeah, Vampire the Masquerade also had a short-lived TV series called Kindred. I didn't know that. Sally Star died in real life after episode 6. Huh. Interesting.
When I was a kid, we had a live-action show called Le Petit Vampire, which was The Little Vampire. And it's the story of this kid who's a vampire who makes friend with a kid who's not, right? With a human kid, and they become best friends, right? And it's this whole, very, very popular TV show in Quebec.
Sorry, what's it called?
The Little Vampire.
No, what's the French though?
Le Petit Vampire.
Oh, it's adorable. That sounds cute.
So
was it animated or was it live action?
No, it was live action.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was live action, and they only had like 2 sets, but still they had the graveyard and they had the inside of the wherever they were, right? So that was it. But
Supernatural almost got a spin-off of the Vampire Detective, says Pete Jarvis. That was actually the original pitch for the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
I would say I've never seen that, but I don't know. I was very into Supernatural for a while, but I never looked into like the production of it.
It's almost too like there's a book series I read called The Dresden Files, which is still going on right now. It's 17 books in, and it's Megan. How did you describe it again? Supernatural meets.
Oh, so I said if Supernatural, Harry Potter, and Sherlock Holmes just like had a baby.
Yeah.
That's very Dresden for you.
It's contemporary, right? Like it's taking place in the current time, but it posits that there is a supernatural world that's kind of running parallel with the real world, and most of the real world doesn't really even want to know about it, type of thing. And vampires play like a huge role, and there's even different flavors of vampires in the Dresden Files universe, and they even incorporate Stoker's book to say like it didn't just come out; it was published specifically as. Yeah, Dresden Files show was terrible. Read the books, Keith. The show was awful, but the books are amazing.
I like
it. Made it seem like Stoker's book was a guide on how to kill vampires. It wasn't necessarily just a story to put out that people would enjoy. They mass published it so people would know how to kill vampires because it's all written in Stoker's book. So it's funny that it even still keeps getting incorporated into other works to this day. That's how important.
Stoker's it always does. Honestly, Dracula gets incorporated into everything. They even had Dracula go into into Buffy. They had Dracula there for like 2 episodes, and she kills him, and then he starts to like recorporealize. She's like, I'm right here still. Just wait until I leave.
Same with Blade 3.
Mhm.
Vampire Dracula. That's
Well,
as terrible as that movie was.
That was so dumb, but I mean, it feels like anytime they need a big bad vampire, like the head guy, oh, it's Dracula.
Oh
Which is
no,
funny
this
because
one
in
wasn't
the lore,
not
like
that
Dracula is
big.
actually the son, like Vlad Tepes is Vlad the Third. His
Right.
father was Dracul, who was supposed to be like even more powerful than he was. Like Dracul
Right.
was supposed to be like the proto vampire, basically, and then his son became Count Dracula. So I've seen some different pieces of media too starting to embrace the Dracul aspect of it too, saying no, you thought Dracula was badass. His dad
But wait,
is the badass.
Mhm.
Dracula's nothing. So yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like it's cool. Like find me a piece of media somewhere that doesn't have, like the only thing I can think of, there's got to be video games. What am I blanking on in video games? Are there vampire-based video games? Anybody in the chat?
Oh yeah,
sure there
listen,
has to be,
guarantee
right?
you there's a ton of them.
Do you know what's funny though? I think I have an answer, but I'm putting it out to you guys and out to the chat. We're talking about this because it's so hugely popular in media for the last 100 years or whatever, right?
Yep.
You almost never see anybody cosplaying vampires. It's very, very rare. Why do you think that is?
Well, what does that entail, right? Putting in some fake teeth in your mouth?
So do you think it's just because it's not dynamic enough? Do you think it's just because it's you see zombies all the time, you see all kinds of other things, but you almost never see vampires? And we're discussing how permeated vampires are in all of our mythologies and all of our media. You can't throw a cat, but none of us ever even think about bothering to.
Yeah,
I was
that's
gonna
a
say,
very good question.
I've seen like vampire cosplays of like specific media. Because
Like such
we
as
were part of a Buffy group, so we did that one. And there's been a few
Right.
vampires for it.
But to be
see
fair,
somebody
in your
making
Buffy
armor.
group, you had 1 vampire and 9 non-vampires. Oh, sorry, 2 vampires, right? Like it's to say a Buffy group is a vampire group is, I feel like it's stretching a little bit. If there's 10 people and 8 of them aren't playing vampires, I mean, is it really a vampire group at that point? Like, kinda, I guess. I know you were one of the vampires, so I know this is important to you. I'm just saying.
People cosplay characters; they don't cosplay creatures.
Right. So why don't we get more Spikes or more Draculas or more Lestats or more?
I don't know. Maybe
Characters
it's
won't be doing the
like
shadows.
internet thing, but I've seen a ton of vampire cosplay.
Like at cons, though, I'm not talking what you're seeing on the internet. When we go to cons, you see a ton of vampire cosplays at cons, because I have not. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I go to a shit ton of cons. Am I just missing them?
I saw one guy that did the Untold armor.
Okay.
Of the red.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be leather armor.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think that.
Yeah, like unless there's a armor or some
blades.
sort of costume to go with it.
Yeah.
It's just a guy or a girl, right?
Vampires are just too generic,
just
right?
too generic.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I thought too when I was thinking about it. I'm like, what would you really do that people would know? Unless
like a blade maybe or something.
If you were in a group, it's a little bit different because you can sell the group. Because I have seen a couple of groups of what we do in the shadows, but again, if they weren't in a group, if they were just individual, you wouldn't have a clue what they were doing.
Yeah,
it just looks like someone in fancy dress or whatever.
And we kind of had this conversation just today, but yeah.
Yeah. Someone saying Castlevania is Misty Wings. The only vampire convention I think is Castlevania. So yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's just not there's just not enough distinctive outfits for enough vampires for you to wear one and people go, oh yeah, you're that person.
It needs to be a very distinctive one, because I have seen the brides for Dracula. I've seen those outfits from the I think the late 80s movie. I've seen a few ones of those because those are very specific looking outfits.
Andre Ferguson saying, I'm going to do Blade next year. Just waiting to see what the deal is with the MCU joint first. Listen, there's only one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
Yeah, I'll be interested in seeing what happens there. As far as I know right now,
it's still a cog. They still haven't even started filming yet.
No, but there's potential talk for Wesley Snipes, from what I understand. But and of course, they haven't started filming yet. Like the whole production is in shambles right now for Blade.
It's
but apparently there's potential talks bringing Wesley Snipes into the next X-Men movie somehow. So him being part of that world, like this, like the Wesley Snipes Blade,
Right.
be part of the X-Men world, and this new Blade be part of the MCU. If that makes any sense, because it looks like they're trying to keep them separate, right? You know what Deadpool has now done is he's separated the different universes, right? And now we have distinctive worlds that we can play within, different sandboxes that we can play within, right? We could play within the Logan's Wolverine. We could play in the, I don't know, Thanos and Endgame, and we could, right? So now they can do a bunch of different things. So it sounds like, I think it would be a good idea anyway, to try to bring him in, even if not for his own movie, for another cameo like that. I think that'd be fucking amazing.
And again, another trope, right? Like he's the daywalker, so he's like a vampire, but he's not. He's like now he's a brand new take on what a vampire can be, right? Very much an anti-hero, even though his films are full of vampire, like your classic straight up vampires, right? Although I do like what the first movie did, where it introduced a difference between vampires that were turned and vampires that were born vampires.
Yes.
I thought that it was neat that it added this layer with this classist society where you got these ancient vampire houses that look down their nose at all these plebs that got turned into vampires. Like, get away from me, little turned vampire. I've been a vampire my whole life. I was born like this. You just got turned or whatever. I thought that was a really cool dynamic to add in there.
Mm-hmm.
Underworld
really
played
well
on that well as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like how Underworld had different classes of vampires, and you had like ancients, and then you had elders, and then you've got, like you say, just the plebs, right? The warriors and and
then they toyed with that idea of the hybrid, the werewolf that got bitten by a vampire and all that.
That was a cool idea too. I don't know if it worked, but
I think it worked for the first film. That was one of those things where I think the franchise just went way too long. But
I think after the first film, it should have stopped there.
Yeah,
second was okay. Third was
Kate Beckinsale in tight PVC latex. Yeah, hi, hello, hi, sign me up. Oh, and she's a vampire with super strength.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess that's what
Step on my neck, mommy, and ruin my life for sure. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. 30 Days of Night had some very hungry vampires, says Natasha. 30 Days of Night was quite something. If you, I don't know if you guys have seen this movie.
I'll be right back. You keep talking.
This movie basically happens in Alaska, where in Alaska you'll go a whole month of night. So for a whole month, the vampires rule the town and decimate this little small town in Alaska, and it's quite something else. Now, you say 30 Days of Night, but there are periods where there is a little bit of light, so they get a little bit of reprieve. But yeah, quite the movie if you've not seen it. Yeah, it's one of those like end of the world type movies.
Yeah,
where it's like everybody's just running away, right? Nobody knows what to do, and it's like the monsters are coming, right? Like that's one of those. It's
Now, when did that come out?
2007.
90s? Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. It looks stressful. It looks stressful.
That's probably a good sign.
Yeah, I can only imagine. 199. What's 199? The old Valerians. I don't know what the reference is there. Peter Jarvis says Underworld was mid. Yeah, I mean it's. I can see Jeff's lips moving, but I can't hear him. I think you might have.
I thought the first one was pretty cool, and I feel like it was like because Underworld does predate Twilight, right?
Probably.
I
like the whole battle of vampires versus werewolves. I feel like that really came to the forefront with Underworld, right?
First Underworld film was released in 2003, and Twilight was after.
I would think it would be after.
Yeah,
movies came out after.
I feel like the vampire. I'm not sure about I feel like the vampire versus werewolf thing has been an ongoing trope in
2005. Yeah, 2 years later.
Okay.
But then there were the books.
I don't remember seeing a lot of it to that extent previous to Underworld. I thought initially with Underworld, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool like concept that they're kind of playing with to kind of join these two things together and make them sort of battling it out since they're both monsters of legend would be relatively equal for strength and speed and all that kind of jazz, right? So yeah, that's what I was saying, Peter. Only number one was okay, and they burned all the storytelling down as they dragged it on. Yeah, exactly. They took a kind of a neat concept and then they just beat it to hell, right? So
yeah.
And then I think they even did one without Kate Beckinsale. I'm like, do you guys even know why we're watching these films? This ain't it.
What's everybody's favorite iteration, favorite version of the vampire? Favorite show, favorite franchise? What does it for you?
I'm gonna say mine. I think still is definitely the Buffy version of vampires, because like Twilight was what got me into it, but I think Buffy's still my favorite type, because like they're actually scary, but you can get more like character and personality in certain ones if they survive long enough. So I find that fun.
Rob?
I think for the only thing I really submersed myself into in the vampire world was probably the phase I was going through at the time with Interview with the Vampire, and I was actually reading some of the Anne Rice novels that I could make my way through, because some of them are quite long and she's wordy, very wordy. But I really enjoyed that kind of rendition of a vampire. That's probably my favorite.
Jeff?
Probably Dresden Files for me. The fact that there's different flavors of vampires, and the different flavors of vampires have different abilities based on that flavor, and again, how he incorporates Stoker's novel, how he incorporates Dracula's Dad Dracul, like just how respectful and cool and fleshed out. He's almost done for vampire lore and mythos what Jeff Johns did for Green Lantern. Like, he just expanded the mythos. And I find that really, really cool. There's different vampire courts and hierarchies and power structures and everything else. And I love all that bullshit. That turns me on.
He took the Fae idea and just was like, but what if it was vampires?
Yeah. See, that's what Redmond Glass works. She's know what I'm talking about. The fun court system in Dresden is so great. Yeah. There's a white court, a black court, and a red court, and each one corresponds to a different type of vampire and such. There's a jade court, but we haven't really seen them in the books yet, but I'm hoping we're going to see some going on. But what about you, JS? What's your favorite?
I've got a little bit of a thing for Fright Night. There's something about that style of movie. I think it was more the style of movie than it was that it was a vampire movie that did it for me. I think. If you're talking about vampires specifically, if I had to choose who's my favorite vampire in all of vampire media, it's Gary Oldman.
Really? Yeah, eh?
It's Gary Oldman. Yep. Yeah. And I love how in that movie, Gary Oldman has like 6 different looks. Right? It's like not every time you see him, but he's got like the old man one, he's got the wig one, he's got the top hat one with the little glasses, he's got the creature one, he himself has he's truly a shapeshifter. Yeah. In that movie, right? And they really I don't know. They do that really well, and he's so good. Like what is he?
Gary Oldman might be the best actor of our generation, dude.
Yeah, like, I think so.
Phenomenal.
Like, maybe one thing he's not good in.
No, you can't. Even if I didn't like the movie he was in, he was still dope in it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that all the different characters he played in Bram Stoker's Dracula is kind of like representative of him across all the movies he's done. Like, how many movies did you watch and you're like, shit, that was Gary Oldman?
Because he looks different every single time. Yeah. No. He's so good. And the man has 1 Oscar. That's it. I don't.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
0 sense, but
that blows my mind.
And he won it recently too.
Yeah, ultimately it shouldn't matter, right? I mean, it's an Oscar, great, but he's been in good movies. Right, he's chosen his roles well. Yeah, the Oscar movies don't tend to do it a lot of times for me. Yeah. Right, a lot of times those movies aren't the movies that I like. Yeah,
he is the GOAT, Pete. You're right, man. He might be the GOAT. Like, but the literal translation of GOAT, he might be the greatest of all time.
Yes,
he's certainly the most underrated actor of all time in my estimation, as far as that goes, for sure. I don't know, but as far as the top vampire, if it's like a live action vampire, for me, I think it has to be Blade.
Oh,
It's
really?
really hard not to pick Blade. I mean, he was such a badass, and it was such a new take on what a vampire could or would be.
I was just gonna say, aren't you the one that brought up that he's not technically a vampire?
Well, I mean, he's the daywalker, but I mean, he's got the tendencies. He's got all their strength. He needs to drink blood. Like, I mean, he's kind of a vampire. The Gary Oldman. He is the Gary Oldman of all time. That's correct. He is the most Gary Oldman that's ever been. Come on, man. The Fifth Element is one of my absolute favorite stories.
He's
movies,
so good
and
in
he's
that.
brilliant as Zorg. I love him as. I would love to get Meg. I already do a Corbin, and Megan does a Lilu. Man, if anybody out there ever wants to tackle a Zorg cosplay, please hit us up because I've never seen one. It would be dope as shit to see one for 100%.
Gary Oldman is definitely my top 3 of vampires. Also have a soft spot for the man in general, says Silky. I mean, yeah, he's Gary
dope.
Oldman.
Yeah.
He is indeed Gary Oldman.
He is indeed Gary Oldman.
I mean, he's the one guy that you would never think for a role, and then you see him in that role, and you're like, "Holy fuck!" Like, I can't.
Nobody else could do this the way he's doing it.
He's that guy.
Yeah, Lindy Cosplay Supplies up there is mentioned Bela Lugosi too. Like you get your classic vampires as well, right? So your Nosferatus and
Yeah.
There you go.
I do have the hair. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it'd be that difficult to. Well, you know what? It would probably be. It's all custom. You know what? It would be pricey and a pain in the ass. But, dude, if there's a group of us, it's gonna be a good day. Even if there's only 3 of us, it's gonna be a
numbers.
Good day.
Strength in numbers.
Yeah. Although our friend Missy Magley, who we had on the podcast. Sorry, go ahead, Megan.
I was saying, I have a question for Rob because you were saying that you really liked like the Anne Rice interview with the vampire ones. Have you seen the new series of it? Because they're doing like a TV show for it now.
I have not yet. I do know that they're doing that, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, because it's on my list. I really want to watch it. I'm gonna start it probably in the next couple of weeks. So, I'm ready. It looks very good.
Is the whole season out, or
I think 2 seasons are out?
The whole season? Oh, there's 2 seasons out. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that it came out a little while ago. Let me confirm.
Okay. Nada's saying Kiefer Sutherland changed. I'm assuming she's saying the game.
Well, she is typing with her elbows, so.
Well, there you go.
She's doing her best around that.
I mean, I loved that movie just because it was a cool movie, right? And biker.
Oh, The Lost Boys was a movie of our generation.
Yeah, it was.
Corey Feldman. It had the Coreys. Corey Feldman.
Had the Coreys, both of them. Yeah.
Right. Kiefer Sutherland was the main vampire. Had a brilliant soundtrack. Who was the lead in that? Jason something.
Oh, the brother?
What was his name? Yeah.
You know what? I'm not sure who the brother was. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else after that.
Well, he was in Speed 2, Cruise Control, and then he was in some other films. But people mostly remember him from The Lost Boys.
Speed 2, Cruise Control. I didn't even know there was a Speed 2. If I'm 100% honest.
You didn't miss anything, but.
Jason Patrick.
Yeah,
Jason Patrick. Sorry, thank you. Yes, Jason
2022.
Patrick is the main guy. Corey Haim plays his little brother in the film, and then Corey Feldman is one of the 2 Frog brothers that are town locals that have figured out vampires are in the town type of thing, and try to help them kill the vampires, which are the cool ass vampires with some great glam hair.
Shit, it is him. No way! I didn't realize that was him.
What's that?
I no clue that was Jason Patrick.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful human. Just
seen that movie a million times.
Stunning human.
No clue that was him.
Yeah. But especially for people in our generation, like it's tough with the I don't know how well the movie holds up with millennials and Zoomers. I don't know if they've tried to watch it and if they dig The Lost Boys or not. But
I was gonna say I saw Lost Boys for the first time 4 or so years ago, and not bad.
See, not bad is cute because for us it's like a seminal movie in our generational.
It was definitely very good.
Right?
I don't know if it was what I was expecting from what everyone had already described it as.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a good movie.
So if you haven't learned this about me already, there's so many classic movies I've never seen.
If you say you haven't seen
There's
Lost
a very
Boys.
good reason why. Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on.
All
There's
right.
a very good reason why.
All right.
Please tell them
Go ahead.
why.
Well, I don't know if. Why don't you tell me why? I was gonna say
Don't you sleep through them?
No. So that movie came out when I was 6.
Oh, okay. fair
Oh,
enough.
you're okay.
Fair
Well,
enough.
you're younger than we are, obviously, right?
So yeah,
Fair
it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
right in the point where I was not old enough to watch it, and then
No, that's fair.
when I was old enough to watch it, it wasn't on my radar.
Right. No,
Right. I've probably seen it in the last 40 years, but
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing it.
No,
So-
that's totally cool. For me, it was like Young Guns. It was kind of in that same vein where it was like a specific style period piece film that had a very high end concept that had a bunch of hot young dude stars
Yeah.
that probably made me question my sexuality at the time. And then I found my way. But I mean, you know, initially I was like, Jason Patrick, are you fucking kidding me? Look at how good looking this dude is. And yeah, Lost Boys might be my favorite. It flips between that and Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah, if I want cheesy, great, hot fun, Lost Boys. If I want a deeper, more nuanced narrative that's moody and gothic, and then I'll watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. Right? Like they're two very different films.
Yeah. I do like for Lost Boys, though, the fact that they explore the like curing vampirism. So like they have some different lore that isn't included into a lot of vampire things. Which is
With
quite
what?
fun.
Sorry.
Like curing them because they cure
In
the
what
ones-
media?
What?
Which piece? Sorry, we were talking about a couple of different films. Which one were you talking about?
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. Okay, sorry, I missed that part. You're like,
I thought you were
Yeah,
already
well,
a lot of that movie, Jeff. You should know that they cure the
I
Yeah.
didn't hear what
as
movie you said
much
originally.
as, and this has been a trope for as long as I've known. You know, if you kill the vampire that turned you, then you are no longer a vampire, right? It cures your vampirism.
In
right?
some media, yeah, it was almost
and
like
that's-
only
the ones that can kill them.
only a ninja could kill a ninja. Remember that when ninja movies were super cool for a while? Only ninjas could kill ninjas. You're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but I'm all in. Yeah, I think the vampire. If you kill the vampire that turned you, you're not a vampire anymore. I felt like it's kind of fell into the same type of thing, right?
Mhm.
I love it when it got science-y, which is kind of like why I like the original Blade too, where they started to describe like what was happening to you physiologically. Like
Right.
the vampirism is a virus. That
It's a
gets
natural
into your
virus.
bloodstream
Yeah.
that turns you into this and makes you crave blood. Like I like it when they almost explain the science with it, and kind of almost do away with the mysticism part of it. I actually kind of like that. I know. You look at you. You're like, no. I want romance, horny, fucking vampires. That's what I want. I don't want any explanation as to why it is.
I don't want this to
vampires
be
aren't
like
humping.
freaking the mushroom zombies, or when they're trying to explain where those are coming from in The Walking Dead or anything. I'm like, I want my vampires to just be vampires. I don't need to know what's happening physiologically.
That's fair. There's room for both. I'm just saying I didn't say like I only watch exclusively when they explained to me how vampirism works. I just mean that was a cool add-on to, you know, show it from the anyways.
From the other
It was.
Oh, apparently in the strain it was a worm.
The Strain is cool. I don't know if it held up. I don't know if it held up through its entire run, but the first couple of seasons of The Strain are pretty dope. You should check it out. Corey Stoll stars in The Strain before he kind of became like a movie guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty dope. I would check it out for sure.
I remember seeing the beginning of that, and then I never got too deep into it. So
It kind of has Blade 2 vibes. Like if you liked
I
Blade
see.
2, I think you'd probably
Right.
like The Strain. It has kind of some of those vibes to it. I thought anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, Bill S. Preston Esquire was one of the vampires in The Lost Boys. That is correct.
He was. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Excellent. Producer Jen's asking, did you talk about the Netflix Dracula series yet? We have not.
Did we talk about why producer Jen isn't on the podcast tonight? Like the Queen of Dracula stuff, and she's not on the podcast. Did we talk about that yet? She's
just
chiming
like
in
being
from
on the
afar, but like I
podcast.
don't know why she's.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know, you could try to convince her. I would love.
Well, it's 54 minutes in now. It's kind of late as it
not
is.
for tonight. Not for tonight. Clearly.
Yeah.
I loved the Netflix miniseries. It was three.
Backseat driver.
How would it go? Was it three like mini movies, basically Sherlock style? Is that how it went? I can't remember now.
I don't even know.
You've never
I don't have
seen it?
Netflix, so I don't know.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you guys have to.
What's it called?
I believe it's just called Dracula.
Oh, really?
I
Well,
believe
that
it
should be
is.
hard to find.
Yeah, I believe it's just Netflix Dracula.
You mean the show about Dracula is called Dracula? Get the fuck out of here.
There we go.
Stupid
But
people.
I am
We're
seeing
staying
the
on point.
message about
Yeah.
Only Lovers Left Alive. That was a wonderful movie. I think that came out like 2010, 2012, somewhere around there.
Dracula miniseries is so good. Okay, well there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jess, you're right. It's
Dracula.
3 90-minute movies or 3
There you
90-minute
go.
episodes anyway.
Yeah. So it's 3 like mini movies, Sherlock style. And one of the movies is the Demeter. It's the Voyage of the Demeter.
Right.
It's a really neat show. It's a really neat show, and again, a very neat portrayal of Dracula, but it's seen through the eyes of a nun who's trying to fight him. I don't want to say too much, because it's worth the watch. It
You
really
had
is.
you had me at nuns. Even like across cultural, like didn't Japan have one called Let the Right One In that they ended up redoing here in the States or on this side of the pond? I'm almost positive it was like a big Japanese hit called Let the Right One In, I believe. And it was like a
I don't know.
Japanese vampire film. I think that's what it was called.
Guys in the chat, I want to know what your favorites are. A couple of people have told us, but what's everybody's favorites? Told you mine. Me and Stephanie are on the same page. Big Gary Oldman guy here.
Oh, Gary Oldman's dope.
So much Gary Oldman.
You know,
So,
when they
maybe
announced
Gary
him-
Oldman. I didn't even realize it was Gary Oldman until just like 45 minutes ago when we first started talking about it.
For real? Yeah.
Yeah.
When they announced him as Inspector Commissioner Gordon, I was like, wait, what? Gary Oldman,
How's that going to work?
Commissioner Gordon, like what? And he was the best.
No, I can't imagine it any
Now-
other way.
Yeah. Anybody else doesn't seem to be right. You know.
One of my favorite memes on the internet of all time is, imagine one day you're at work or out for a drink or doing the shopping and someone shouts "cut," and it turns out you were Gary Oldman all along. That's how good an actor he is.
Yeah.
It's one of my absolute favorite memes because he's so good. Even in little movies where like he has no right to see it, like The Professional, like Leon the Professional, when he's the corrupt cop. My God. I mean, he just steals that whole movie. He's not even in it that much, but he's so good in the whole film. Every single scene he's got is just crazy great. So yeah. I don't know, man. He's a tough act to follow, that dude. Like the range on that guy is just absolutely bonkers.
Natasha here is saying Daybreakers tried to cure vampirism. We're talking about that a little bit, and it sounds like that's a fairly common trope, especially there was a time where it was a more
Scandinavian. Yes, Kristen, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought it was why it was Japanese. Let the Right One In is Scandinavian. You're correct. I know it got a remake on this side of the pond as well. Victoria Brown saying Twilight. Victoria, did you just enter the chat? Because you're way late.
The Japanese version was a remake of the Swedish film.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was not completely up to lunch.
No.
Jen's asking if we discussed Aaliyah. She says tread carefully. We've not.
I don't know the
I
rest.
don't remember the movie as well as maybe these guys. Queen of the Damned.
Wasn't that a loose sequel to
Interview with the Vampire?
In the sense, it was in the same series of books.
Like same
Almost.
universe-ish?
Yeah, but I don't think it was a direct sequel
I got
by
you.
any means to Interview with the Vampire.
Fair enough. I've never seen it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't either. I've seen people cosplay it.
Yeah,
Our friend Becca cosplays it.
Oh, does she really? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not all like I've seen Interview with the Vampire once.
Yeah, same.
Years ago.
Once, same. And I was like,
Yeah. So
I like my
I'm
vampire
not-
slightly less bougie and horny than this. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What actually that was the first time I saw it tied back to like the 1700s, right? So you had vampires in whatever time it was, 1980.
Yeah. Like 1700s
But
London or whatever.
The
Yeah.
history of it goes back
Mhm.
Like they really tied in a lot of the European history. I felt like in that.
Oh, yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
right?
They definitely did.
That's
Would
the
you
part
like
that
to talk
appeals
about? Listen, would you like to talk about Twilight? Because we did kind of touch on it briefly very early on, but I mean, I guess we can't ignore the fact that same thing. Like it really,
It reignited.
like
That
holy shit,
whole-
it
yeah.
was everywhere. The books were enormously popular. Then the movies were even more popular than that.
That
As much as it gets
movie
shit on
series
now.
is on TV in my house once a month.
Yeah, no,
All this,
it's,
my wife loves it.
no, it's
It
wild.
was just on TV last weekend.
Yeah, she's seen that more than I've seen Infinity War, which is
It's like for like dudes our age love the Lost Boys, and women of a certain age love Twilight. There's just
Mhm.
it just captured an entire generation of women.
Yep.
And I'm painting with a wide brush specifically. I don't mean only women enjoy Twilight. That's not what I mean. But majority, it was marketed towards a predominantly female audience. So
Yeah.
Twilight is my favorite series. There we go, Michael. See, that's what we're talking about. Yes. Someone did a study at one point. They tried to find out the most physically symmetrical, handsome dude in Hollywood, and it was Robert Pattinson. Like that's how ridiculously good looking that dude is. I personally, I like him as Batman, as in Cedric Diggory. But hey, man, it's like, you know, each their own. I'm Team Edward all the way, whatever the fuck that means. I don't even know what that is, but yes,
Team
I'm
Edward?
team. Well, there was Edward was the vampire, and then Jacob was the werewolf, and they were both fighting over Kristen Stewart, who was Bella.
Bella, yes.
And I was, I already aged out. Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't like it's like a lot of other things that I talk about here. I'm sure it was good since it captured such a wide, huge, giant audience. It just didn't make it for me, and that's okay.
There's no
not everything has to
denying
be
how
made for me.
popular Twilight
Yeah,
was.
no, it was bonkers.
And
No, I was
still
gonna
is.
say,
let's be
I
honest.
really loved it at the time. I think I was just finishing grade school when it was like starting to come out, or which book came out. Anyways, I read them through grade school, the very end of it, and that's what led me into like other vampire media through high school. So watching
Right.
Buffy, watching True Blood, watching
So
any
Twilight was like the gateway drug.
It was my gateway vampire.
Yeah. How do we feel about From Dusk Till Dawn? I didn't see it for years until someone told me it was a vamp movie. Then I finally did. I thought it was a Western. It's a very interesting film because it's really two movies.
It is.
Okay.
The first movie is like just a gangster style heist, thriller
Gone
style
wrong.
film. And then they go to a bar in the middle of the desert called the Titty Twister. That's run by Cheech Marin of Cheech and Chong fame.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some sexy dancing by a very young and impressionable Salma Hayek. And then suddenly everybody's a motherfucking vampire. So, and it just the movie takes a complete left turn and turns into like a hardcore horror vampire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So as long as you're cool with the jarring sort of turn, like it's not a twist because it's like halfway through the movie, it just turns into a completely different movie. Harvey Keitel's in it. Quentin Tarantino's in it. George Clooney's in it.
George Clooney's the lead.
Yeah. I liked it, but I feel like it's one of those films. Like if I don't tell you that it has this huge 90-degree turn right in the middle, if you go into it not knowing that, it's probably going to turn you off a bit because you're going to be like, wait a minute, I was watching one movie and this turned into a completely different movie. But if you know that going in, it definitely helps for sure. Juliette Lewis is in it. Yeah, the cast is crazy. The cast is great.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Trejo was in it.
They had a second one too,
Harvey
didn't they?
Keitel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, the cast is phenomenal. But it never leaps to mind immediately that's a vampire movie because the first half of it is not a vampire
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I totally forgot all about it.
Completely different film.
I mean, that was kind of the point Jen was making, right? Like she forgot it was even a vampire movie.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a cool flick, but it's a very specific flick. Like it's like we were kind of talking about earlier, like with The Office and stuff. Like it's the vibe is a very, very specific vibe, and you're either into that vibe or you're super not into that vibe. Yeah.
I think it was produced by Quentin. He didn't direct the movie, but
he didn't direct it. Robert Rodriguez
produced.
directed it, but I think he had a hand in maybe writing some of it, and he definitely appeared in it. And
was this part of that? When they did, there was a couple movies in that. What was it called?
Grindhouse? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
I don't think it was part of Grindhouse. I don't think so.
No,
because you had Death Proof, and you had Death Proof was Tarantino's. Rodriguez's film had the chick with the machine gun leg. What the fuck is that called?
from the
Terror, not shit. It's not from Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn predates Grindhouse by quite a bit.
It does. Okay.
Cherry
Okay.
Darling?
That
No.
would be probably the
Machine Gun for a Leg, yeah.
Yes, that would be Planet Terror.
Planet Terror.
Yeah.
Planet
Terror. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Death Proof and Planet Terror, and together it was called Grindhouse. It was like 3.5 hours long or whatever. And
people are talking
Tarantino, I
about
think, did one and then the other. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
People are talking about I Am Legend in the chat.
Mhm.
I also forgot that was a vampire movie. For
So,
some
like,
reason,
wait,
I
it's
thought that was a
vampire movie?
zombie movie, but it is a vampire movie.
It's almost kind of like it
It's
reminds
kind of
me
a
of
mix.
yeah, it reminds me of 28 Days Later, where I mean they're kind of vampires, but they're kind of zombies. It's kind of a weird, or like World War Z, where they're.
I was gonna say there's a lot of crossover between those two monsters.
That's true. I mean, they're both technically undead, right? So
Yep.
They both technically want to chew on you.
yep, just one
Just
wants
different
to
parts of
suck your blood.
Yeah,
Robert
yeah.
Rodriguez. Yeah, what did I say? Did I say Robert Rodriguez? I think I did.
I think you
hope
did.
Yeah. The sad part about that is I haven't seen either of those films.
What?
I've not seen Death Proof and I've not seen Planet Terror.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Death Proof.
With
I
Stuntman
like
Mike,
Death
that's
Proof
with
better.
Rosario Dawson and Kurt Russell.
Yeah, but
yeah,
Planet Terror is bonkers. Like it's
it looks
absolutely
bonkers.
ridiculous. Yeah.
So if you're wondering where Machete came from, Machete was a fake trailer that was in Planet Terror about Machete, was the Danny Trejo character that was supposed to be, and then they made a Machete movie.
And they
based on
made
how
that
popular
movie.
the fake trailer was.
Yeah.
Near Dark, yes, thank you, Marcy. Thank you for reminding me. Near Dark, just this past year, I got to sit down for an hour with Jeanette Goldstein, who played Private Vasquez in Aliens, and she and Bill Paxton and Lance Henriksen starred in this really cool vampire movie called Near Dark. That's really dope. Yeah, you have to be a bit high for those movies. Yeah, Near Dark is a little bit trippy, but it's a very, very cool film. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend checking Near Dark out. Yeah. Hello there, sir. I'm late. That's all right, Dean. You're forgiven. Yeah,
How
check
old
out
is,
Near Dark.
Dark?
It's post Aliens, but not a lot post Aliens. I want to say like early 90s.
87.
There you
wow.
go, late 80s. There you go. Literally a year after Aliens. I think Aliens was 86.
Michael's saying Near Dark's great. Okay, well, listen,
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's very moody. It's very, and I'm a huge Bill Paxton guy. So, and Lance Henriksen, like it's got some really dope guys in it. And yeah, very, very cool. Definitely check it
out. Kristen S is saying, just watch the new Salem's Lot. Not great. Oh, that's disappointing. Natasha's saying Morbius is a hard watch. Oof.
Yeah, no kidding. I've heard they tried to condense the story too down. Like it should have been like a 2.5 hour movie, and it's like a 90-minute movie. They really like chopped a lot of the book down. Paxton, not Pullman. Yes, correct. Bill Paxton is awesome. That's correct. But hey, Bill Pullman's awesome too. I like both those guys. Although Bill Paxton isn't with us anymore, unfortunately, which I did get to talk to Jeanette about. But what's that?
I'm trying to remember which one's which now.
Bill Paxton was Hudson in Aliens. Game over, man. It's game over.
Right.
Bill Pullman was Lone Star in Spaceballs and the President in Independence Day.
Yeah.
Right.
Should have been a Mary
right. Because their names aren't confusing enough. They have to even look alike.
No, that's fair. Morbius was a hard watch. Yeah, that was a shame. That really was. I really wanted to like it.
And then it
I
wasn't.
feel so bad for Matt. I'm so glad that House of the Dragon came along for Matt Smith, because it just seems like every movie he picked to be in was just dog shit. It's so bad.
Oh, he was in Morbius? I didn't even know.
Oh, he's the bad. He's the big bad in Morbius.
Matt Smith, really, eh?
Matt Smith is the big bad in Morbius. Oh, and by the way, he got jacked for it too, which made me feel even worse for him, because he has a distinct shirtless scene where he's kind of dancing around. You can find the GIF on the internet. It's all over the place. And brother is ripped. Like he looks really good. And I know he worked hard to get like that for that movie, just to get absolutely shat upon.
Dr. Bro.
And then he was also he was Skynet, the physical representation of Skynet in which one
Salvation.
was that?
No, was it Salvation?
No.
The one after.
Not Dark Fate and not
Genesis.
Salvation. The one in between.
Genesis.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Genesis. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Terrible
didn't
film.
hate that concept. Terrible film. I didn't hate that concept that he would have like a physical, that Skynet would be able to. It's an AI.
Yeah, but then they fucked with John Connor and just like
They did. Listen, it was a terrible movie. It was a terrible movie. I didn't hate the idea of the Matt Smith character. Let's put it that way.
No. Fair enough. He just has a really bad habit of picking terrible movies to be in. That's all.
But good TV shows.
Good TV shows. He was the Doctor, and now he's Daemon Targaryen. So I mean,
I was saying he was also on The Crown. He was very good in that.
There you go. I never saw The Crown, so
I had never seen him in anything before Doctor Who.
Oh,
I didn't know who he was.
I don't know
was
what.
So mad they were replacing David Tennant. I stopped watching.
You and everybody else.
It wasn't until his like second year or third year in that I started watching. I was like, oh, this guy's really good. And then I went back and watched it all. Anyway.
Oh, I was saying, Natasha just commented in how have we not mentioned Van Helsing?
Because it was a dog shit movie.
I haven't seen it.
That was so fun.
Okay, there's a reason why there wasn't a Van Helsing 2. You took one of Hollywood's biggest stars and you put him in a cool action vampire movie, and it bombed and it never got a sequel. Hi, we'd like to polish this turd for you all and hopefully make a franchise out of it. And we said no.
I was saying, I had no idea if they were going. I had no idea they were planning on making it into a franchise. I like it as a standalone movie. It's one of the ones that I watch whenever Halloween rolls around.
Now, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, that's what cheesy campy is supposed to be. Like, I'm fine with that if you're leaning into it knowing it's supposed to be stupid. Van Helsing wasn't supposed to be stupid. It just was.
Like no, Van Helsing was legit, like supposed to be a serious movie, right?
That's
like,
what I mean, and it's not. It's like Jonah Hex. It's trash. It's the hottest
that was
garbage.
So bad.
It's
that
the hottest
so
garbage.
bad.
But Abraham Lincoln, this is what we're talking about, though. Like, you can make a movie. Like, you can go into a Hollywood pitch meeting, and you can say, "Listen, you know Abraham Lincoln? We want to make him a vampire hunter in the 1800s, and some studio hack is going to cut you a check for that, and you get to make that movie."
Yep.
Tell me vampires aren't the most popular social media thing in our minds for the last 100 years that you could make that hunk of shit. Unreal. Crazy town. Hugh Jackman, Megan. Yeah. Van Helsing, terrible film. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, terrible film, but knows it's a terrible film. Doesn't take itself seriously. I'm fine with that. Know thyself.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm agreeing with you there. I'm like, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It wasn't good, but I had fun.
Well, I mean, that's good. I'm not saying it wasn't fun. I just said it was dog shit. I mean, maybe it was fun dog shit. I don't know. I think Abraham Lincoln Vampire is fun dog shit. That's if you want to get high and spend 90 minutes just enjoying the hell out of a film, don't watch that. Watch Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
I was gonna say that's definitely the same sort of energy. Take a historical something and then just twist it around until it's something completely different.
Huh. I've never heard of this one.
Well, I heard of it. I never saw it though.
Interesting.
3 Days Later, great vampire movie. Yes, absolutely. So what would you guys see as sort of like your, I guess we've picked favorites, but I'm always curious as to like what's next. Like like we're 100 years in, man. Like, and it is evolving somewhat, but like where could it go? I feel like vampires are almost like superheroes to an extent, right? Like it has the same kind of appeal. Like they have power, they look like us, but they have special powers and they have specific weaknesses, right? Where do we go from here? Do we keep them as baddies? Do we start moving more towards the anti-hero stuff? Do we get them into clans? Do we take off on stuff like True Blood, or do we stick more? You know what I mean? Like what's next? What would you envision for that? Or what would you want to see? What's your ideal vampire media moving forward? Megan, I see you have responses.
I have thoughts.
I'm sure you do.
So my ideal vampire media is probably anti-hero-ish. Mm-hmm. I'm better when it's not just straight monster movie. Mm-hmm. And I really like when my vampire media
horny as
explores
hell?
kind of
Oh, sorry.
existentially what it is to be human. So I like the drawing out humanity from the monster. That's always my like what I enjoy.
Right.
And if they're hot, that helps.
So the human side of the vampire equation essentially is what you want to see.
Yes.
And you're not going to be mad if they're horny.
Basically.
All right.
That's
Fair
my
enough.
sweet spot for vampire media.
That's fair. What about you guys? Do you have any?
I'm at the complete opposite spectrum.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you want in your vampire stuff, JS?
I want more like actual horror. Like I want more.
Like back to its roots almost.
Yeah. Like proper horror thriller. Make the hair at the back of your neck stand. You know, yeah. I mean, that's I don't know. For me, vampires are killers, right? They're hunters. They should be massacring people and drinking blood. You know, so yeah.
I really
I mean,
hate how you say blood. The worst.
I do not say blah blah blah.
Oh, how did we not talk about Hotel Transylvania? By
yeah,
the way?
we haven't talked about Hotel Transylvania. Maybe we should.
Do not say blah blah blah.
If you're gonna do like,
if you're wondering why JS and Jen are together, by the way, yeah, give me more blood and ripping flesh, which is exactly what JS said. So
yeah, I mean, I agree. Not that I hate the other stuff, right? Don't get me wrong. Like Hotel Transylvania, I love that. I mean, I haven't seen the latest one, but I mean, you know, if specifically Dracula has been involved, I've probably seen it, but I've seen a lot of the vampire stuff. Admittedly, I've not seen all of the Twilights.
That's okay.
I've not seen True Blood, and like I've not seen those shows.
Right.
I've
True
seen
Blood
some
is
of
actually quite
horny,
graphic, like also horny, but it is quite violent. So you can.
I've literally heard it softcore porn. Whenever anybody tells me about True Blood, they're like, it's basically softcore porn.
Basically,
there's a lot of that in there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Give me handsome, bitter, vindictive queens. This isn't Ada. That's I love it. I love your specificity, by the way. That's fantastic. What about you, Rob? Do you have any thoughts on that on vampire media? What would you like to be consuming as far as your vampire media goes? Are you still wanting to lean into that interview, like the historical setup based vampire stuff, or?
Yeah, that's the way I would lean more towards. A little bit, not so much bloody and gory, but more serious, more suspenseful, more historical aspect of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I dig that stuff.
I'm sorry, JS. Drinking what? If you make him say blood again.
Drinking blood. You know, I kind of I like what you're saying there, and you brought up something earlier about the whole 17th, like the 18th century stuff, like the 17 whatevers, which is where the whole vampire trope really started, and how Rice brought it back to that. But we've never really had anything else kind of in that era, have we? Like, have we really had anything cover, like any period pieces?
I'm trying to think.
Like,
I'm
not
sure
really.
there is, but I mean, I can't think of it off the top of my head. This isn't.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not thinking of a lot of off the top of my head either. What do we got in the chat here? Anything?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Like historical.
Yeah,
Alexander Skarsgård, True Blood, yum, says Percy.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yes.
True Blood is so bloody and horny. My goodness, yeah.
I think he's only wearing a shirt for like 12 minutes in the whole series.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't get jacked as fuck for no reason, kids. You're gonna see my abs whether you want to or not. That's what's happening.
Listen, but there's also, yes, True Blood.
Yes,
is great.
please tell me it's all about the plot, Megan. Please give me that it's all about the
it
plot.
is not at all about the plot.
Isn't all about the plot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
Natasha is saying Vampires Suck is a great spoof movie of Twilight. You know what? I remember when that came out. I've never actually seen it, but I remember.
I remember seeing the trailers.
You remember the trailers and thinking, "Oh, this is a great idea," but yeah. Sorry, Jeff. Didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
No. It's just like, for me, it would come down to more like, yeah, I really liked what Blade played with initially with the hierarchy of vampires and seeing clans and houses and vampire nobility and shit. That's what it would be for me. Like a Latveria that's run by vampires, and how they would navigate the rest of the world and how they had to make sure that they weren't turning too many so there would be a constant food supply. Like I would love to see that level of seeing, and then of course you almost get a Game of Thrones-esque all political battles for control of, like, that's where it would be for me, that I would enjoy the media. But I don't really think that exists. I don't think it's going to exist. I don't think they're going to make a vampire Game of Thrones anytime in the near future, but that's what I would like.
I mean, they could.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea.
They could. Because of course they're immortal too on top of all that. So I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing. And usually
for,
the older vampires are always the more powerful vampires, right? So
right.
You get those houses of nobility from. And I think part of what I like is there's always like a 1,000-year-old vampire who knew how it was back in the day. You don't
That's
fuck
right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Don't fuck with that dude. That was a lot of the Kindred series. Really? Okay, cool. Maybe I'll check that out then. Yeah, for sure.
What's the Kindred series? Is it just a series of vampire books? Or is it a show? Or...
I think she was saying it was a show based on
Kindred.
Like, I will find.
It was both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Never heard of the show, but hey, I have to go. Another one I'll have to go check out. I feel like I need to make a list because I've already forgotten all the shows tonight that I've said I need to go check out. But
well, you can go back
fine.
and
Just watch
rewatch
it back.
this
It'll be
episode.
good.
That's right.
there you go. Hey guys, by the way, wow, I'm just seeing the time here. We've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. Guys, if you like tonight's episode, make sure you click that like button because I know there was a bunch of you in the chat tonight. So make sure you click the like button. I want to see those likes. If you want to do me a bit of a favor, make sure you go back on the video after we go off the air and go comment what your favorite vampire media is. Take a second to go leave that comment. Actually, really helps us out. Those comments seem to be creating traction when videos engage. They go viral. Well, I don't want to say viral because, viral for us is,
We get a couple of 100 views.
yeah, but yeah, leave us a comment. Let us know what your favorite vampire media is, whether it's a franchise, a specific character. Told you mine, the GOAT, the Gary Oldman of all times.
That's never going away. Thanks, Pete. Well done, sir.
You guys have anything coming up recently? Well, you guys have an after show coming up.
Yes, we should
I'm
be.
going to go back to
Hopefully,
editing that.
yes,
there you go.
Hopefully, we'll have an after show up tomorrow for the next 3 episodes, 7, 8, and 9 of season 3 of The Legend of Vox Machina. On Saturday, October 19th, here in London, Ontario, at the Pizza Hut in the South End near White Oaks Mall, we will be having our Heroes Day. So it's going to be, all proceeds are going to go to Crime Stoppers. London firefighters will be there. OPP will be there. London police will be there. They'll have fire trucks. They'll have police cars. They'll have police bikes. And there'll be a bunch of us cosplayers there. The Pizza Hut buffet is on for that day. I think it's $5 or something. And all proceeds are all going to charity through Crime Stoppers. So should be a good day. That's between 11:30 and 2:30. Yeah. And I think you guys are going to be off doing a shoot on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, for The Last of Us. Yeah.
We are. We're doing lots of a shoot Sunday downtown Toronto. Do you know where we're going?
I don't know yet. Richmond Street somewhere. I think it's near that graffiti alley that is pretty popular.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's in the chat, so I'm relying on him. So, but yes, we got to shoot on Sunday. Last of Us, we're going to be pulling out our clickers. I've done a lot of work on my clicker. As you can see, actually, my fingers are still quite black from painting earlier. Yeah, whole new outfit. I've painted my mask. I've modified it. It looks 10 times better than it did. It's also the Sebastian's Heroes charity gala in London, Ontario this weekend. This Saturday, also October 19th. We're not going to be able to go there, but it's a Star Wars themed charity gala. If you're in London and you want to participate and help out, they're looking for basically guests, right, to come in as, Star Wars cosplays. The charity dinner, I believe, is like $125 or $150 or whatever it is if you want to go for the charity dinner. They're not. I don't think they're expecting you guys, if you want to go dressed up and hang out and donate your time basically to go hang out with the kids. But check them out, Sebastian's Heroes. Check them out on both Facebook and Instagram. Their charity dinner is this Saturday, October 19th. I forget the location now. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm sure you can find it online.
Again, go check out Sebastian's Heroes on Facebook.
Megan, what about you? Anything coming up? Anything you want to plug the business maybe?
I was going to say, I'm going to be doing one of my last markets for the year with my business next Friday. So it's going to be Friday, the 25th of October. I'm going to be at the Spells and Stardust Market downtown Kitchener on Gaukel Street. So if you want some fun witchy stuff or medieval clothing, come hit me up. Check it out.
Don't you have like a website or something where you sell?
I do have a website. The website is valkyriecustomwear.ca.
Hey, there you go.
You can order things from me, like the shirt that I dyed here to look like I've been stabbed.
I noticed.
Stabbed or bitten.
Stabbed or bitten. I was like, I needed to lean into the vampire vibe, and I did some tie-dye.
You know those stabby ass vampires for sure.
So stabby.
Absolutely.
Stabby ass vampires.
Whee!
Oh, boy.
Why don't you take us the fuck out of here?
Yeah, I think we're gonna end it there, guys. Again, thank you very, very much for watching. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button. That's gonna be it for tonight. Thanks everybody for sticking with us. Stay geeky. Hopefully, we'll see you next week.
Check out the after show.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Geek Boutique Podcast. Like always, if you prefer to listen to us, you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Now, make sure you don't forget to click that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to make sure you never miss an episode.